All right, good afternoon, everyone. This is the press conference for the North Carolina Tar Heels following today's NCAA Division I women's basketball second-round contest. As a courtesy to everyone, please silence your cell phones. Please provide your name and media affiliation each time you ask a question during today's press conference. If you are joining us on Zoom, please use the raise hand function for questions, and we'll address questions in the room and then get to Zoom if time allows. Recording press conferences on phones or on cell phones or cameras is prohibited. We have with us here on stage head coach Courtney Bankart, as well as student athletes Elena Arnasalo and Lainey Grant. As a reminder, we will begin with an opening statement from Coach, followed by questions for the student athletes. We will then dismiss the student athletes and conclude with questions for Coach. Coach, congratulations on the win, and if you'll start us with an opening statement.
Yeah, first off, I just have such great respect for what Brenda's done with this program year after year. What an honor and how fun to bring the Maryland-Carolina rivalry back to Carmichael. And I thought our Carmichael crowd really showed out for it. It was a really great environment. You can tell how loved this team is. And that's hard to do after you lose the familiarity of kind of those fifth-year seniors that we had last year. We needed them to learn a lot of new faces because of we had a couple freshmen come in. We had only 2 transfers. We're a young team, and there's a lot of trust in that locker room. Going to a Sweet 16 is so hard. I know it's harder than it is put into words, and these guys just really embraced hard this whole year. I was hard on them, and I couldn't be prouder of them. Couldn't be more grateful for the Carolina community for wrapping their arms around my team. And these two, what do you say about these two? They were complete warriors. We had to play a different way, right? We love to share the ball and space you out and beat you on the inside and attack you from the arc. And this team really wanted to go 1v1, and they wanted you to, win your matchup. And I kept imploring them to win their matchup, and, they both are so unselfish. They're kind of looking for the next pass. And so I just kept telling them, don't get bored at doing the thing that's going to help you win this basketball game. And so a little out of character, but they just kept going. And really proud of you two, really proud of our seniors and the whole Carolina community and this whole program. But, yeah, go Heels.
Questions for the student athletes. We'll start here on the front row.
Ariel Bottom, Tar Heel Tribune. Elena, you had a lot of success driving to the hoop. Was there something in the scout that you saw that allowed you to do that so much? And how did you deal with playing in such foul trouble for so long?
Their defensive style kind of gave us the opportunity to attack the paint and go one-on-one against them. There was oftentimes me and Lainey had the ball up the top or Indy, and we just saw the paint empty, and it's go time at that point. What was the other question?
Foul trouble.
Oh, foul trouble. Yeah, I did have 4 fouls. Obviously, it affected the rebounding and boxing out. This was a very physical game. They crashed the boards really hard, so just had to be a little more careful in that.
Michael Code, WCHL, chapelboro.com. Lainey, you guys led by 11 at one point in the first half, but you got knocked back a little bit. Maryland takes the lead at the beginning of the fourth quarter. How did you keep your poise and in the game on a strong run to win this one?
Yeah, we knew it was going to be a dogfight throughout the entire time. So even though we were up by double digits, we knew that we couldn't really let up. They gave us a good run, and we kind of just did a good job of absorbing that and, not panicking, not trying to do too much, not getting away from our game plan. So, and, in those moments where, I think they tied it back up at one point, and we kind of just looked at each other and said, let's just get back to what we were doing in the first half. Let's just keep leaning on each other. And the biggest thing was getting stops and securing rebounds. So.
Debbie Stroman, WCHL, Chapelboro. Speak to always being known as a three-point shooter, but now you are so comfortable going to the whole one-on-one. Can you speak to your comfort level in that evolution?
Yeah, obviously, like E said, we knew in this particular game that the lane was going to be pretty open. Like E said, or like Coach says too, if there's an open block, go take it. And teams are doing a really good job about getting out in the arc. So contesting my three-point shot, so they've done a good job. Maryland did a great job of taking that away, so I just kind of had to move to the next option. It's just a testament to, my position coaches and my teammates for just pouring confidence into me. But, I always have the ability to get to the rim, but I don't always need to. But this game, there was kind of a need, and Coach made it clear that she wanted me to win the paint a little bit more.
Tom Shanahan from the News and Observer. Yesterday we were joking about how you need to play meaner. You look pretty ferocious out there. If you could comment on that, and if Lainey, if you could comment on the same thing about her.
We're playing to win. We don't want to go home, so we have to be mean on the court. Obviously, it's fun to win and get, hit some shots. We can also enjoy and have fun on the court. Saw a lot of smiles from all of us. But yeah, I had to be mean, I guess.
I would say, like, in March, there's kind of an urgency where you know that there's no other option but to win. So I think that there's just a little bit of that, along with E is one of the most competitive kids that I know. So no matter what she's doing, she's going to do it to win. And she might be a little slow to show outward emotion, but, when she does, she's a dog, so.
Alexandra Jones, the Daily Tar Heel. For both Alina and Lainey, could y'all sort of speak to the leadership of India and Nyla Harris throughout that kind of fourth quarter there, and also what was kind of the message going into the fourth quarter, and what was kind of the mindset y'all approached that with it tied at 50?
Elena, can you start us off, and then Lainey?
Yeah, Harris really got on me at the end of the third quarter. She kind of just looked at me and told me that I need to make my layups. So I was like, okay, I do need to make my layups. So they do a good job about pushing really hard in the moment, while also really uplifting. They're the first ones to celebrate everybody. But that's every game with them. So I wouldn't say they even did anything different. They've been so consistent with their leadership this year, and that's why it's so easy to rely on them. But Indy does a great job. She's the first one at the floor in every single possession. She's always going to be going after rebounds. She's putting her body on the line every single play. So there's no option but to continue to rise to her level. And she and Harris both showcase that tonight or today.
Yeah, I agree with everything Lainey said, and it's just that we can really trust them every single day. They're going to show up. They're going to do what they always do. And then it's like the little things in huddles, taking a deep breath. We're sticking together and trusting everything we do together, so we're going to win.
Shelby Swanson with the News Observer. Just a question for both of you guys. I feel like really crucial stretch where you had Nyla's three-pointer, and then Lainey, you had your layup back-to-back there. What do you think, I guess maybe was the impact on that late in the game? And what does that also say just about the youth of this team stepping up for you guys in the clutch?
Elena, how about you start us with that one?
Yeah, I guess because we are very youthful, we don't maybe feel as much pressure, and we're free to shoot those shots. Like Nyla Brooks, she's been shooting those threes the whole season, so she's not scared to take any shots. She always says money always good, so as it is for her. So yeah, those were obviously really important baskets that we made.
I think Nyla Brooks probably just hit the biggest shot of her entire collegiate career in this game. And there wasn't a single doubt from anybody that the ball wasn't going to go in. And, I literally looked at her after the game, and I was like, who'd you feel like? And she was like, I just felt like myself. And I was like, I know that's right. So she's always going to shoot that shot. And 9 times out of 10, it's going to go in. And we all believe in her, and she has the freedom and the green light to shoot that shot. So I'm really proud of her. That's a freshman, or I guess at this point you don't consider her a freshman, but that's a freshman playing really big minutes on the stretch for us and playing really solid defensive minutes on the other team's best player. She made it really difficult for her. So super proud of her. And then, I guess just make plays at the end of the game, but yeah.
Time for 1 or 2 more questions for the student athletes.
Debbie Stroman, WCHL, chapelboro.com. I know your coach thinks about it a bit, but how much do you all think about ACC pride playing against teams, not in our conference?
Lainey, you want to start us with that one?
She doesn't know what it is.
It's always so fun. This tournament, I root for all the ACC teams. Even though we compete super hard against each other in conference, once we get to March Madness, I always root for all the ACC teams in every single game. So there is a sense of we want to represent the conference well. We want to do right by them. But yeah.
Yeah, we want to represent ACC. We're always hoping all the ACC teams do good. Actually, last night we were joking with our team that we should make an ACC group chat for the March Madness time with all the players of all the teams and kind of encourage each other. But yeah, it's really important.
And last one for RL Hill.
Yeah, for both of you, for most of the game it was only two bigs, and a lot of that dynamic was Brooks playing a lot. But what was that? What made that chemistry work with only one big for most of the game?
Lainey, can you start us off with that one again?
Yeah, I think the great thing about this team is we're able to play different lineups well. So depending on what team we're playing and what we need, anybody's able to step up. This time around, they were really staying out on our shooters. So having Brooks in spread the floor a little bit, it allowed me and E to get to the rim more. And Brooks has proved herself. She's stepped up time and time again. She's gotten so much better on the defensive end. She's gotten better on the offensive end. So, she's ready for those big moments. But, next game we could have a completely different, core group that's playing big minutes. So that's what's so beautiful about this team and this program.
Ladies, that's all the time we have for you. Thanks so much. Congratulations on the win.
Thank you, guys.
All right, we'll now take questions for Coach. We'll start with Michael Coe here on the second row.
Michael Coe, WCHL, chapelboro.com. Courtney, I'll ask you the same question I asked Laney. When Maryland took that lead early in the fourth quarter, how did you guys keep your poise and in the game on the strong run that you guys did?
Yeah, I'll kind of piggyback on Debbie's question. I think it's, I give a lot of credit to the ACC. We've been in battles all year long. I feel like my family always comes home and says, I can't do this anymore. I can't. It's too stressful. And I feel like that's every game for us, right? And so it's just not, it's not uncharted territory. I was really I got to the point where I was praying that Alucci would make her free throws because I didn't want to have to rebound it, right? And so, we basically knew that on the offensive end, we had to take care of our possessions. And I just kept imploring them. Honestly, it's so against our style. Spread them out and just take your guy. And they just kept doing it. And, they had to go to things that I said before in the scout. We like making people do what they don't like to do, right? Maryland doesn't zone much, right? And we got to the zone at half. I was like, yeah, they've gone what they don't want to do. And so we just had to stay aggressive. But you don't go this long into the season and not trust your guys. So these are close games. We know they're going to be. We're prepared for it. But, I trust them.
Ellie Beaumont, Tar Heel 24/7. With the game being tied going into the fourth, what did you specifically tell them? I know we asked the players what they were saying to each other, but what was your message?
I'd be interested what they said, but it's what they remember. But I was imploring them to keep one on the ball so that we could rebound. And so that was what I was trying to say on the defensive end. We're letting right drivers go right. There's some physicality on the glass that we're not meeting it early enough. And then on the offensive end, I just kept reminding them that, especially in their press, you have to make one or two guard you before you make your next play. And so we were sort of picking it up and looking for the next pass, which isn't what got us to this point. So I was reminding them that if no one's guarding you, find someone to guard you and then go by them. And so we just really wanted to stay spaced and spread them out, keep them confident, keep them loose. I liked their shots. I'm really picky, but I know when I look back, I like a lot of their shots. I thought we missed a few too many layups. But, yeah, I felt like our game plan was solid, and we didn't have to change it.
Alexandra Jones, the Daily Tar Heel. Kind of piggybacking off of those two questions, what were you seeing from your team down the stretch in that fourth quarter, especially those leaders, Nyla Harris and India Navarre?
Yeah, I think India just gives you a sense of confidence because she, I always say when you want to judge a leader, check how much they're winning, right? India has found a way to win with this team, right? She and Nyla Harris. And so, I just, in timeouts, I just say, take us home, right? And that inspires her to just stay doing what she's been doing, right? Which is ensure that we're locked down on the defensive end, keep pouring the game plan, reminding of the game plan on the defensive end, and on the offensive end, understand our attack and just keep doing it. I kept telling them, don't get bored. It might be a shimmy, it might be a cross, it might be an in-out, it might be a slow to fast, but you're going to win your matchup, and that's going to open up yourself or somebody else. We don't need to run a ton of actions, and usually we have a good action stuff. So, yeah, those two seniors have found a way to get to a Sweet 16 in their senior year, so that's their leadership. They're winners.
Max Schaefer, Testudo Times. Coach, I'm interested to hear you say that you were telling them to kind of take those one-on-one matchups because Maryland does have capable perimeter defenders in Economo. What did you see on tape that made you feel like that was the best plan of attack for you guys offensively?
I thought that they, a lot of teams that play us, they're worried about our inside game. I think they were willing to give up the inside game and not give up not deal with our threes, so they really hugged the arc a little bit like Duke, right? And so we had to, they kind of forced you to finish at the rim. I feel like our guards, especially our kind of top three guys that get a lot of the minutes, they're really hard to guard in space. And so I watched the last 16 games that Maryland played just to make sure that was really what they're going to do. And they just kept allowing or requiring some 1v1 attack. And so, with Alucci, we wanted to use her athleticism to our advantage. We wanted to get her closer to us so that we could go by her, right? So that's why we wanted her to be slow to fast. The other guys, we wanted to make them be shifty. So we wanted Garzone and Addie Mack to have to move their hips, right? And so, interestingly, which we haven't done all year, we really tried to implore on them how to beat the guy in front of them, right? And then I just kept telling them, if there's help, pass, but there's not going to be. And they just couldn't believe it. And then you saw we got 3 straight layups for E to start the game, and then they started to believe it.
Tom Shanahan from the News and Observer. You touched on this already a little bit, but was there a game earlier in the year that gave you the confidence you could employ this type of game plan?
I think Duke gives you confidence because they're big and physical on the glass, and then they guard the arc. They don't let you beat you from there. So you kind of have to punish them with twos, and that means every possession's more valuable because obviously the math on that is the threes are going to get you quicker to the higher number. And then obviously defensively they're balanced. Offensively they're balanced, so we have to be balanced just like Duke. But really, I've sat in this chair, I don't know how many times at Princeton, and you just get met with the physicality, and you're just like, oh, God. But the ACC has prepared us for this physicality. They've prepared us for individual defenders. They've prepared us for really good coaches. And so I just feel more prepared, honestly, year after year as our league continues to get better.
Hey, Courtney, Oriole about a Tar Heel Tribune. Can you talk about the flexibility that Brooks gives you?
Yeah.
Giving you the ability to play only one big for a lot of time. And she did so many things. And also, when she took that shot early in the shot clock, was that a little too soon? Was that one of those you wondered about and said, yeah?
I think I'll start with the shot, right? I think you've got to go with what you see day after day, right? Kid pours so much into it. And what makes her so good is she believes in herself. So I'm not going to be the one to put any doubt in that kid's head, right? I'm just not going to do it. And so she knows that, as she says, money's always good. And I tell her that before she goes on to the game. I always say, money always good, right? And she says, you're right. I just love her growth on the defensive end. She's much better on the defensive end. Her ball handling has gotten better in the season. That's pretty hard to do as a freshman because you're so worked up on all the other stuff. And so she played vertically. She wasn't elite on the defensive end. She was really good for a freshman, and she'll continue to get even better. So, yeah, she gives us a ton of flexibility. Layla Hall gave us great minutes. They weren't letting you, I felt like when we had our double big in, they were crowding the paint a little bit more, and I wanted to space them out and make them get out of that coverage, and they just stayed in it, so we just stayed in it too.
Shelby Swans with News and Observer, just kind of asking a similar question as I did to the players, but you've talked a lot this season about the youth of the team, and maybe some folks on the outside think this might be a rebuilding year for you guys. Again, just what does it say about your team, the way that the young players are able to step up throughout the game and especially down the stretch there? Yeah, there's so many different ways to build your team, and I think the story that gets told the most is, interestingly, through the general manager route, right? The teams that have all the transfers, right? The story that gets told the least is the coaches that trust their recruiting and develop their players, right? And so we only had 2 kids on our roster that were transfers, right, in this year, that haven't been with us the year before, and that was obviously Nyla Harris and Elena. Everybody else is ones that we trusted in the recruiting process and we developed throughout the year. I mean, that's just a really good story that I think gets undertold. We're the 7th youngest Power 4 team in the country, and so we had a lot of ground to make up. It takes a really special group of leaders and a group of people in that locker room to make up that much ground, because we were not good in June. We film I almost had them redo this whole gym because there wasn't a camera in it. We film everything. I can barely do anything without film. And we showed them every day the stuff they were doing wrong and the stuff that they were doing right. And the right section was really small, and I just kept saying, let's try to grow that section. So it takes a special group to make up as much ground as they've made. And I'm proud of our recruiting. I'm really proud of our development to put us in this position, because you're right, especially when you take Renaya Kelly out of the mix. That's over 75% of your offense and defense you lost from a year ago. And here we are going to another Sweet 16.
And last question for Ariel Hill.
Or about Tar Heel Tribune. You had as many starters in foul trouble as you made three-pointers.
Yeah.
If somebody told you that before the game, you probably would have cringed. How were you able to navigate the foul trouble? And I know the lack of threes is part of the strategy.
Yeah. Well, we were able to navigate it with our depth, thank God. We were able to, I had to switch it around a little bit and keep one on the ball. So obviously that gave up a few. I'm sure there are plenty of coaches in the coaches, that are in the stands questioning certain things. But, that sometimes what's happening in the game is a little beyond what the average fan thinks. So we had to sort of give certain things up to not foul in certain areas. But I give it to our depth. And as I just told India, you know, it's really fitting that she fouled out of her last game at Carmichael because she didn't leave anything on the floor, right? She took it all with her. And, you know, for that kid, with what she's meant to us defensively, what she's meant to us as a leader, you can't say she left anything. She left it all out there.
Coach, thanks so much for the time,
Appreciate
and
it. Go Heels.
congratulations again on the win.
Thanks.
We'll be joined on the stage by Maryland momentarily. All right, good afternoon again. We're now ready to begin the Maryland press conference following today's NCAA Division I women's basketball second round game. As a courtesy to everyone, please silence your cell phones. Please provide your name and media affiliation each time you ask a question during today's press conference. If you're joining us on Zoom, please use the raise hand function for questions. We'll address questions in the room first and then get to Zoom if time allows. Recording press conferences or on cell phones or cameras is prohibited. We have with us here on stage head coach Brenda Freeze, as well as student athletes Mir McLean, and then also Oluchi Okanawa. As a reminder, we will begin with an opening statement from Coach, followed by questions for the student athletes. We will then dismiss the student athletes and conclude with questions for Coach. Coach, if you want to start us off with an opening statement.
Yeah, you know, obviously we're really disappointed to not be moving on, especially for our seniors, but just a tough game. I felt like it was there for the taking for us. We didn't manage enough plays to be able to go take it, and we had a lot of uncharacteristic missed shots in this game. But I thought the first half we you know, it took us a while to be able to settle in. I thought credit to UNC, their defense was elite, making us have to play on the offensive end, and then you know, they made us took a lot of things from us offensively that we really struggled on the defensive end. But thought we regrouped at halftime, did a much better job getting back to making plays that we're used to making. You know, in the NCAA, when you're playing on someone else's home court, it's extremely difficult. And you know, we missed 14 free throws and shot under 40% for the game. So a lot of uncharacteristic plays for us. But the last thing I'll say is just when I look back on this team this season, just how they played for each other, the unselfishness, the resiliency, especially when you talk about all the injuries that we faced this season. This group never quit, and I thought they played a 40-minute game like that where they were not going to quit.
Questions for student athletes? We'll start here on the front row.
Max Schaefer, Testudo Times. Mir, congratulations on a great career. I just wanted to ask you if you have any kind of reflections at this time, particularly on your last 2 years with the Terps.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a competitor at nature, so I'm really proud of our team, and if that's the way that my season's going to end, I'm okay with that because we fought to the very end. Just reflecting, just very proud of us, and more memories to come for sure.
Hi, Ben Messinger, Testudo Times. Aluchi, in the third quarter, obviously you were struggling a little bit. You spoke to coach in a little bit of an intense conversation. Can you just break down what was said there and just kind of what confidence that gave you, even despite the loss?
Yeah, Coach understands I'm a competitor at heart, and I've told her this before, and I'll keep on telling her this until forever. I love to be coached hard, and that's what she does with me every single day. And really what that was a regroup moment for myself, and her telling me she believed in me, because sometimes that's really all you need to hear to get back out there. You know, it's a long game, lots of ups and downs, and I feel like after that conversation, that's when I really went back out and just did what I had to do for my team in that moment. So I'm forever appreciative of that.
Hi, Faith Harris, the Diamondback, also for Lucci. Just kind of similar question we asked Amir. Just a reflection on your first season with Maryland. You know, obviously coming in from another ACC foe and having such a stellar breakout season. Can you just talk about your reflections at this time of your first year here as a Terp?
Yeah, there's really no words to describe how happy I am to be a Terp and how happy I am to be coached by Brenda Fries. And this was one of the best decisions I think I ever made, and I'm so blessed to have been welcomed to the program the way that I have, and all I want is to keep on playing for her, for this program, for this name that we wear on our chest as hard as I can.
Hey, Brady Ruthium, Terps, for both of you. As leaders on this team, when you come into this weekend and you see Addie and you see Kendall really step up in their first ever NCAA tournament games, just how proud does it make the two of you as leaders, knowing, you know, the impact that you had on them and the direction of the future of the program?
Mir, can you start us off with that one, and then Oluchi?
Ooh, you touched my heart right there. I'm incredibly proud of our freshmen. I mean, I know I'm 6 years older than them, but I'm really proud of them. I look up to them, and they've just shown so much grit and growth, and it's amazing to see as a leader. They're leaders themselves, and I have no doubt in my mind where they're going to take this program. Just very proud that they trusted me to be their leader, and I'm also very happy that, you know, they have grown themselves and been able to show us what it looks like to be a fearless freshman for sure. I definitely envy their bravery freshman year. So yeah, very proud of them.
Yeah, I mean, obviously looking towards next year, looking towards the future, it just puts so much confidence in me. And now that they had this experience, now that they've seen themselves be fearless in the biggest tournament that you could ever play in, I'm excited for what they're going to learn and apply to next year.
Any other questions for front row here?
Yeah, Max Schaefer, Testudo Times. For either of you guys, we're just not used to seeing that many missed free throws in a game. I know there's not much you can say about free throws. You're obviously trying to make them, but was there anything you felt like was going on at the line? Did the rim seem a little unforgiving? Like anything like that you guys felt like was maybe a little off today at the line?
Aluchi, can you start us off with that one, and then Mir?
I think Coach said it best. That was uncharacteristic of us. That was uncharacteristic of me. And I think those are controllables. You know, I think that's something that you look back on, and obviously we played so hard, but it's knowing that, okay, we still were able to make it competitive, like it was still in our hands, you know. So, I mean, that's something that we're going to continue to emphasize, of course. I know for myself, continuing to work on the mental game within that, and knowing that even though I want to be better, don't let it affect the next shot. But once again, all things to learn for next season.
Yeah, you just grow from it. It's something that we practice every day, so it's not, like Lucci said, Coach said, it is uncharacteristic. It happens. And all you can do is just pour into your teammates, give them confidence when they step up on the line, and when you can rebound from the free throw line as well, it gives them more confidence to be able to make the next shot.
Really, either of you, obviously this is the end of the road. Can you just characterize what this team meant to you and kind of just, I know there's a lot of emotions right now, but just characterize the journey here and how special it was.
Can you provide your name and affiliation?
Ben Messinger, Testado Times, my bad.
Lucci, could you start us off with that question?
You know, you know it's going to end at some point, but you never want that time to come. I think this team was so incredibly special, and I'm honored to have said that I was a part of it. And there's so much that we learned and so much that we're going to take for us, not just on the basketball court, but in our lives. I think when you join these teams, you create bonds with these girls that are for a lifetime. So I'm just so incredibly blessed to have met them.
Yeah, I've learned a plethora of things being here in 2 years. I feel like I've had a 4-year experience, and I'm very grateful for my coaches who have always poured into me, and I mentioned before my freshmen and everybody in between. So just reflecting back, I'm just very proud of, you know, the resiliency that we've been able to show this year. Other teams, they might have fallen or driven apart, and we only got closer, and I think that's just a testament to who we are now and who we're yet to be for next year.
Anything else for the student athletes? Ladies, thanks so much for the time, and congratulations on a great season.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Good job, guys. Good job.
We'll now begin with questions for Coach. We'll start here on the front row.
Austin Borshak, Terp Talk, WBB. Tough game. I don't know if you would have seen this yet, but the footage of you speaking with Lucci on the sideline is already going pretty viral in a positive way. Wanted to ask you about that moment, and you know, what does it say about Lucci to be a player who can, you know, take that on positively from a coach, and how do you read the moment, you know, when your player is having a tough day from the line, knowing how to challenge her in the right way?
Yeah, you know, I think for me, you know, it's always been, you know, a pulse that I've been able to have with individuals and players, and we do have to at times have to have those tough conversations. You can't have them without a relationship. You've got to be able to have that. The best of the best, the elite of the elite, want to be coached hard. And at that moment, you know, I kind of had watched Lucci struggle, you know, for within this tournament, and she's just too gifted. So, you know, I kind of wanted to implore just how much belief I had in her, and just kind of challenge her. I know what a winner and competitor she is, and just challenge her. Do you want the moment? And I knew it was like give it a minute, get her back in, and you saw she went out, she got a bucket, she got a steal, and never looked back. And sometimes that's where you got to, you know your players and the relationships that you have. And but like again, you can't have those conversations if you don't have a relationship with them.
Max Schaefer, Testado Times. Coach, when Coach Banghart was in here, she was talking about how the game plan was to kind of spread you guys out and go at individual matchups. What did you feel like they possessed that gave you guys trouble and kind of allowed them to beat you guys off the dribble more than most teams were able to do this year?
They did. I mean, you know, clearly they went to those one-on-one matchups on the defensive end, and you know, we're super aggressive. I mean, they're a difficult matchup because if you go to help and rotate, they all can shoot the three extremely well, and they're very athletic. They've got, like I said before the game, I mean, they've got depth, they've got speed, they've got size. And so it was really, really difficult. I thought on the flip side, when we were driving them and being really aggressive, good things happened. Obviously, when you get to the free throw line 31 times. So, that's when you watch the both teams and you're trying to exploit the other end.
Hey, Coach. Brady Ruth, Terps. When you think about a season like this, when you faced and overcame so much adversity, how long does it kind of take the hurt of today to start blending into optimism for next season? What are some of the things, the freshman pieces, the depth, the returners that give you optimism for, the upcoming year?
Yeah, I think it's really important to give your locker room perspective. And so immediately, as much as we hate to lose, that's not changing anything, but also, wanting to share with them like I did in the locker room, just how proud we are as a staff. I mean, so much adversity when you talk about the injuries, the tough January stretch that we had. They never pointed fingers. I mean, this was, again, no one's talking about one of the youngest rosters out there. Yes, we had 3 seniors, and they carried a heavy load today, but the amount of freshmen, which is uncharacteristic nowadays, that we had to play this season, and just to watch their growth, like in this tournament, to see where they didn't even flinch, Addie and Kendall, and the moments that they were able to have. So that's why we do what we do. It's all about the journey and just, watching these young women, because it's not just about basketball. Like this adversity, they'll be able to carry into life when hard things happen, and see that they've been able to come through it.
Coach, obviously, this is the end of the road. You have 3 seniors here, Mir, Saylor, Yarden. Obviously, you didn't have them all 4 years, but obviously today is a tough day for the 3 of them. Can you just talk about the memories you have of having the 3 of them here for as long as you've had, and just kind of talk about their future a little bit?
Yeah. Well, I think Mir had an outstanding tournament when you talk about her 2 games and just emptying the tank. But I thought, all 3 of them, they should be able to live with, they tried to do everything they can. I thought, one, it was just awesome to be able to bring Saylor and Mir back home, and full circle moment after recruiting them. And Yarden, like just the winner and the competitor she is, our staff really enjoyed having her all season. Like we spoke to them. They all got really bright futures, and whether that's continuing on to play or the next move they make, they're going to be extremely successful. So just really proud to be their coach and be able to have that moment in time, whether it be 1 or 2 years, to be able to have on the bookend, the finish of their career, and hopefully give them the most positive experience that they could have had.
Hi, Coach. Just talking again kind of about resiliency through the team. You called 3 timeouts in that last minute, and, going forward to that. Just what were you talking about there with the team to try to push through? And, also kind of double question, how does this carry forward to next season with your young roster, kind of like you talked about before?
Well, you knew the game was going to come down to possessions, so having those timeouts I thought were important for us, especially we wanted to be able to advance and get some of those quick hits on the offensive end, and then being able to know what we wanted to do from a defensive end. But, being able to take those moments, again, like I said, we were right there, but, UNC made more plays than us.
Max Schaefer, Testido Times. Coach, has anything that's gone on through the course of this season changed your outlook at all about what you're prioritizing for next year, or is it just a matter of we have some players from injury coming back, we're going to kind of retool and regroup?
I think that's something we do every year. Our staff sits down and we look at our roster. These are ever-changing times, so you've got to see what your roster is going to look like and who's returning. So they are uncharacteristic times, but I think we do a great job. We understand what we need, where our strengths lie, what areas we need to be able to improve on. We've continued to show that. We continue to evaluate, where our roster is, because, we know we want to go further. This isn't, getting past the first round isn't where we want to be. And we know we want to continue to play at the highest level. But again, given the injuries of this roster, they took us as far as they could. So I'm really proud of them for that.
Any other questions for Coach?
Hi, Ben Messinger, Testudo Times. Obviously, kind of what I asked Mir and Alucci earlier, and you've said a lot of it. How do you describe this team, other than obviously perspective and just what you just said? How can you describe the specialty of how this team worked throughout this season?
Yeah, I've always said this, but the resiliency. I think there's a lot of teams when their backs were against the wall, when they had lost 4 games in January, a lot of teams wouldn't have made the tournament. I mean, they were right there. It was touch and go which direction they were going to take, and I think that's the beauty of this team is they just continue to fight for one another, fight for this program, and you saw it unfold. And a lot of teams, it's really hard to do with all the adversity, losing your entire backcourt, and they just continued to find a way. And I think that's the beauty of this season is just being able to see just how resilient they were through all the adversity.
Any more questions for Coach? All right, Coach, thanks so much for the time, and congratulations on a great season.
Thank you.
Hammond Communications will post a recording of this press conference in the